blood pressure.
Awesome, man. Episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, yeah, I think we're doing pretty good. We're possibly going to get to the double digits, which would be good, man. Hey, for this episode, I was going to mention that today is the release of Spiderman. Yep, and so that's come out over here. Is it the same for you in Auckland or no?
Yeah, one of actually, one of the guys that I follow on Twitter and Instagram, incredible comic book artist, Mitchell Mulipola.
Cool.
Posted his spoiler, his what is it? His Far From Home spoilers, which actually was a car spoiler with Spider-Man Far From Home painted on it. So I thought that was very tongue-in-cheek there. But everything I've heard or seen so far is that it's meant to be the business. It is actually the business, apparently.
That's
and
cool.
It's piqued my interest because I love Into the Spider-Verse. I love what they did. There's going to be an Into the Spider-Verse 2, which I think is incredible. So yeah, what have you heard about it so far?
I've heard very good things. That's been about it because I've said no spoilers. Did Mitchell post that on Facebook or Instagram?
On his Instagram.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure I don't follow him on Instagram. I was just going to say, great, I can't go on Facebook now.
No, he didn't post any spoilers. It literally was a picture of a car spoiler.
Oh, okay.
Like
yeah.
Car spoiler.
Yeah.
With Spider-Man into the.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
he's a pretty sharp cookie.
Everything. He was very enthusiastic about it when I had him up. I was like, "Bro, is it?" He was like, "Yeah, man." I think I watched it like another 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, we'll be taking the fams this Saturday, so that should be nice and chaotic. My daughter 2 weeks ago was like, "Dad, I really think we should be booking this right now." I was like, "What?" She's like, "We have to book it. If we don't book it, it's going to be sold out." And I was like, "But Peyton, do you want to be squished in and sitting at the front row if it's not allocated seating?" And she's like, "We need to book it with allocated seating." I was like, "It doesn't work here. That's not how it works anymore." And so I said to her, "Look, it's not bad if we wait 2 weeks and then we go and see it when everyone's done." And then she's like, "No, then I can't talk to anybody and I'll get spoiled." And I was like, "It's holidays." This is the girl that stays in the room reading books. It's the holidays. Who do you talk to in the holidays? And she stopped. She's like, "Oh, yeah." And she's like, "No, but I still want to go see it." So after that, she kept on hitting up Toya as well. So we'll be going. We'll take Thor, and then we'll leave west with Toy's mum. So that'll be good, eh?
Bro, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. Are you gonna go this weekend or wait it out?
I'm gonna wait it out.
Oh, he's gonna wait it out.
Well, yeah, because I think I've never really been like a tremendous Spider-Man fan.
Yeah.
Did love what they did with Into the Spider-Verse. So I think I'll I think I'm gonna wait it out. Partially too because I finally started making some traction on One Piece. So I just finished starting a new arc because my sister basically, instead of like starting right from the beginning, because when I started from the beginning, I got up to the part where they basically found Zoro. And you basically have all of that stuff. But then then I started rewatching it. She told me to start watching it from when they meet what's his name, Chopper. When they meet Chopper, the reindeer. So from Chopper the reindeer up until this current arc. So I'm gonna have to do like a weird watch where I'm at, and then backtrack and watch the previous ones. So eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of fills up. But dude, I was gonna say, man, my sisters and my brother weren't joking. I get it. but at the same time, I'm kind of thinking, I wonder if all the people that are, I wonder if we're excited about the same things. Because there's so much fucking nuance in One Piece. Like so much of like a lot of, there's so many parallels with a lot of when you see a lot of the geopolitical stuff that goes on, the political intrigue that happens. Basically, what you see in One Piece is stuff that's actually happened in Africa and in South America, where Britain or the US have pretty much funded guerrilla campaigns to destabilize different regions. Except in One Piece, the good guys win.
Yeah.
But it doesn't end up so well for everybody else in real life. So I'm kind of watching this and I'm thinking, oh, the heck? Is everybody seeing what I'm seeing? You know what I mean? So yeah.
It gets pretty deep, eh? And yeah,
really
I think it adds to the lore as well of why One Piece is so great. Did you hear that One Piece has had a live action in development for a while?
Yeah, a lot like my feelings regarding Cowboy Bebop and Death Note and every other attempted remake or adaptation. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Cool.
Just leave it alone, man. Leave it alone. I'll be honest. I really feel for everybody that was involved with Cowboy Bebop, especially our local production. But for me, I lay full blame at the heads of the directors, at the executive producers who had no idea what the heck they were doing.
Yeah, it's a pretty big undertaking, especially when you've got a massive following, and the whole PR play after the fact. It was almost too late anyway. Like once you're trying to put out fires for something that was already off track, it's pointless. So. Yeah, hopefully people learn from it and they stop buying these properties to turn them into something that can be a short-term cash grab, and rather they start investing a large amount of attention and energy into getting the messaging right.
That's it, because the thing that really annoys me is that they treat it as as a cash grab. By the way, in saying that, rest in peace to one of the greatest screenwriters and writers who happened to write half of the episodes of Cowboy Bebop, Keiko Nobumoto, who passed away earlier this month. So she also wrote Wolf's Rain, one of my other faves, Samurai Champloo, and Space Dandy.
Oh, Samurai Champloo.
Yeah, and the Cowboy Bebop movie. She was responsible for that.
So I'm not aware. What was the reason for her passing?
Esophageal cancer.
Okay. Cancer's a scary thing, man. Very scary thing, eh?
Yeah, it is, man. It is. To be honest, I've been contemplating. I think I've been contemplating for a long time. It's I think it's just kind of one of those things we kind of have to be prepared for, just in case, because you never know when it's going to happen to you or to someone that you love.
Yeah. It's why every morning, man, if I kiss my kids, I kiss them thinking, cool, I've kissed you. If I don't see you later today, then hopefully you remember that I kissed you. And it's the same, you say your prayers with your family, and you leave, or you come home and you say your night prayers, your family prayers, and you go to bed hoping that everyone wakes up in the morning well. You have to, man. Yeah, it's the reality of mortality.
That's exactly it. And I think it's horrific, but at the same time, like that's life. And I don't mean it in like a trivial way.
Yeah.
In a trivial kind of way, but it's just nothing's ever kind of promised or guaranteed. And so I was just kind of thinking about that. Some of these creators that we lose, and then somewhere along the road we have a whole bunch of new creators kind of taking their place. But yeah, just really, I really felt that one this week when I found out about her passing, because just some of the way that she wrote some of those stories. Some of those beautiful moments that you kind of have, or you kind of see a part of yourself reflected in some of those stories, and you think, oh my goodness, or you have like a kind of realization of something, when you're listening to, yeah, just moving animated pictures with a story and with somebody voicing it. But you can still have these really beautiful, profound moments, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That really is something, man. I just can't. Sorry, I'm just kind of going off on my tangent.
No. And it kind of ties into, because so many of those stories as well, if you're watching them as a kid, for instance, one of my girls, Alyssa, has been smashing, to her sister's disappointment, has been solo smashing and marathoning Bleach, right? And so and so she's almost gotten to the end of the first arc. And you can hear her giggling and laughing and then exclaiming and being sad and saying, oh no. But these are stories that, because of that critical age, I think, as well, but they're things that you're going to have, you'll never forget. You'll remember those stories way into the future. And there is a deep sense of loss, I guess, when you realize, when you start connecting deeper with the property, or deeper with the IP, and then trying to find out more about who the writers were, or the directors, or the artists. And then, like you're saying, the frailty of life kind of hits hard, which is why so many people felt deep cuts with Stan Lee when he passed away. And there was an article recently as well, unfortunately, where I think his grave might have been either robbed or desecrated recently.
What?
I think in the last couple of days I saw an article come out talking about that, which is really disappointing. But that whole kind of recognition that, something that I love is connected to somebody else who is no longer with us, and I'm just so, I feel like that's a loss of my childhood, or a loss of that nostalgic experience that I had with during my childhood. So it's a hard one, eh?
Or it's the finality that the way that story is going to be told will never be told again.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, it's like that. It's like the really weird feeling. Like, it occurred to me, I think last week, that there are people that I haven't seen in like almost 5, 10, 15 years. And then I kind of got the feeling that, man, the last time that I saw them, I wouldn't have known that was the very last time that I would have seen
You would see them. Mm.
person.
Mm.
And like, it's really trippy. Like, even though they're alive, they're doing their own thing, living their own life. But just the kind of thought, like, you never know when the last moment is that you're going to be able to see someone.
No, you're right. It's a hard one, eh? It's I think that acceptance, though, taught at a young age is really important. The finality of life, the reality of death. I think that's actually that's so important with our kids, so that they're aware of things.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think those are actually the most important stories for them to understand and know that, yes, the world is full of beautiful things, but there's the reality of life as well. And I think there's a good way of going about doing it without terrifying them.
Yeah.
But helping them understand, like you said, that death happens.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. It's just a part of life.
Yeah.
Heartbreak happens, failure happens, disappointment happens. But I think just trying to help them navigate that and find their own kind of grounding. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because everyone's different, right? But you can also see how, and it's different for everyone. But when people experience that deep loss, sponsored by Coke, if people experience that deep loss, then it's fascinating to see how, at times, depending on how much resource they have to process that stress and that grief, how it can debilitate them, or how it can help them to get direction and to move forward through that grieving process.
No.
Yeah, you and I have probably met people that have been able to keep things together really well, take it on the chin or take it in stride. And for some people, they may have been able to do it off their own steam. Other people have been able to do it because they've had a broader perspective or a viewpoint. Some people look to religion or to family and the comfort of family during those times. Other people, don't. And then you kind of see on the other side of the spectrum as well, other people that kind of bottle it up or don't process it well, communicate it well, and it really festers, and then it changes their state. And in the very worst cases, you have accounts of, like, I know people who lost brothers. Like, I know one person that lost a brother, and then he lost a mum, and he had a family, and he couldn't take it any longer, and he wasn't the only the sibling left, and he still had a couple of kids, but just couldn't deal with the grief. So it's a pretty heavy topic when you think about it.
It is, man. I mean, it's such a difficult thing, because I was kind of thinking, like, a punch in the face is a punch in the face. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether you smile or whether you cry.
You've just broken up a bit at the moment, so we'll see if we can get you back a little bit later. Oh, there you are. You're just back now.
Yeah. No worries. Gotta love Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom brings a joy. Next time we might just get you to record the session and then see if it works out better.
We'll try. We'll see what happens. That, or we might have to try to the platform sponsors.
Yeah. That's it. I'm pretty sure that by the time we hit double digits, we'll have this nailed.
I forget authenticity.
Yeah. Look, this is a living, breathing experience for everyone. You, me, mum and mum. It'll be good. Like, they'll be able to give us critiques and say, "Oh, look, you guys have done really good since episode 12. I like episodes 4 or 3, and now you're in episode 11. Good on you guys." Let me talk to the kids. What else has been going on? Because you got, like you said, we were talking about Spiderman. We moved on to the loss of one awesome creator for Cowboy Bebop. I mentioned how a couple of the girls are smashing out Bleach at the moment. They're trying to catch up to where I am. But yeah, what else is new for you?
Oh, bro, just work, man. Working kettlebells.
Now, you said something very interesting. Are you looking to shake things up with what you're doing with work?
I don't know, bro. I think I'm just kind of at a point where I'm just reevaluating what I what I want to do. It's not to say that work is bad or anything, but maybe it's just that time of year. But I'm just really thinking, is this? Yeah, just got me thinking. Like, I've just kind of been thinking about stuff. Like, I don't know. Do I, what else from this? What's next?
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of starting to kind of get, just started thinking about different things. My mind's wandering. I think about, what can I do for the next 70, 80, 90 years that I have left on the earth.
Yeah.
But I kind of plan to live till I'm 200. But
I did do the quick math. I was like, oh yeah. Which is fine. You can be the first. Well, there's rumor that people used to live for a few hundred years back in the day. So you never know. You might make some headwind there, kind of set the pace for everyone. But yeah, you're picking a good time to do it as well, around Christmas time, heading into New Year's. It's a good period for reflection. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably what I need. I think it's either that or just exhaustion.
Mm,
Exhaustion speaking, and maybe just I'll spend the next couple of weeks really kind of just thinking and just kind of game planning in my head
yeah.
what's next. And
No, fair
I think
enough.
the thing is, yeah, I think it's kind of get to a point where you have to just kind of ask yourself, am I fulfilled? Am I happy? Um, or is this the path that I want to continue down?
Mm,
And that's the thing, you never really know. You can only see so far ahead. Everything else is just a leap of faith. So yeah,
yeah.
it's been a thought that I've been contemplating. Something I've been contemplating for like for the last couple of weeks or so. So I've just
Okay.
been popping in my head. But yeah, I mean, all that aside, there's been what is it? I'm trying to think what else I've been reading. There's something else I've been reading as well. Ah, right, okay. Halo Infinite. I don't know if you ever played the Halo games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy cow! Like I don't have an Xbox S or an Xbox X series, but when they released Halo Infinite, because I needed to see what the story was like, so I've been watching playthroughs. I've been watching like the cutscenes where they more or less condensed the story.
Yeah.
I was like, man, they did such a brilliant job, in my opinion, with how they've managed to, in a lot of ways, kind of fix a spiritual reboot to what
Okay.
happened in Halo 5, because Halo 5 kind of went off the rails bigly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
And so
kept up with the first three releases, and then after that, I didn't really follow it any longer.
hmm.
But yeah, the girls and I, we were avid walkthrough aficionados. Anything
What?
came out, we were avid walkthrough aficionados. Like we would just watch any number of walkthroughs. So like one of the better ones that I
Oh, yeah.
remember as well, I like all of the Batman Arkham series or Batman
Oh, bro.
Asylum. It was also the likes of Injustice, like Injustice 1 and Injustice 2, like just incredible, right? So and you didn't have to play the game if you didn't have time to play the game. So as things kind of changed, yeah, because and you remember when you would play the games, right? You were waiting for the cutscene, like that's what you're
Yeah.
hoping for. It's like
No,
yes, and you get the cutscene, and that was that. Oh, this is so good.
I will even go one further. I'm the kind of person that if I love a walkthrough, I'm going to buy the game.
Yeah, cool.
Because it's like, yeah, now I've watched somebody else, but now I want to experience it because it's just, it's
Yeah,
all storytelling. It's all
that's how we
storytelling.
ended up doing with Injustice, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Injustice 2. After we watched the second walkthrough, it's just like, geez, got to get it, and it didn't disappoint, man. My girls always hit me up though. They're like, "Can we play the games?" I'm like, yeah, probably." And it's like, "Dad, you've got so many games here." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I don't know what I was thinking." I bought them without any time to play them. And then Toy's like she's super cautious. She's like, "Oh, I don't want any gamer girls. So you can have like an hour a day." And then the girls sneak it in anyway, and it doesn't really matter.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
amazing.
But they love it. Yeah, and they have an appreciation for animation and story, like story most of all.
Mm.
But yeah, going back to you with Halo Infinite, was it Affinity or Infinite?
Infinite, Halo Infinite.
Cool.
So the way they've set it up is that I think they'll be planning seasonal DLCs.
Okay.
So I don't know if those are going to be like story and campaign DLCs or if they're just going to be multiplayer DLC. I'm hoping it's going to be like story DLC. So every season there's a new block of new Halo campaign that people can play.
Okay.
And so they've scheduled for the next 10 years. So it's basically planned out for the next 10 years of Halo. And so just kind of watching these stories, I was thinking, oh my goodness, these like just the way they were able to tie certain threads, tidy little bits up just enough so when the rest of the content comes, it'll fit in nice and flush.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I was thinking, man, it was a great job, like a really great job. And I think that's
awesome.
what because they I think they got the original writer for one of the original writers,
Okay.
they're going back on board. And I was just watching this thing, and oh my gosh, okay, this is, yeah, this is great. Because it was weird. I think with Halo 5, they were trying to, I don't know what they were trying to do. I felt like 70% of the game did not involve Master Chief.
Oh, okay.
So it's that you introduced these whole new characters and these elements in a game where it's just primarily been about the Master Chief, and I think it really kind of comes down. Maybe part of it kind of comes down to people not knowing how to write characters like the Master Chief. I think it's kind of like the challenges people have writing Superman. Because I think Superman's too perfect, or there's nothing interesting about him. But I think Superman is incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they always kind of want to have like this super dark version or iteration of Superman, but I think but every time they try that, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like Superman. Like Superman kind of is meant to be this idealized dude who doesn't take himself too seriously, but is serious about helping other people. And I think the irony being that he's the most human of us, even though he's not human at all. He actually isn't human. And so, some could even argue that's probably why he can be so benevolent.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question to pose, right? There's, or if you could write a thesis on the humanity of Superman and the frailty of Superman, that'd be fascinating. I still remember, and there's a bunch of scenes probably, but in one of the animated films from, I think was it DC Animation or Warner Brothers Animation? I'm not too sure what studio was publishing it, was producing it, but it was Superman. Was it versus the five, or I can't remember.
Yeah. I know the one, and he basically gives him a taste of what it would be like.
Yes.
If he was that guy.
yeah. Right at the end, right? He just brings it all. Yeah. He's like, you know what? You're right. I need to do this, and it's just like, yeah, it's beautiful to watch. How they just crumble.
I think they need to they need to actually show Superman as being that dude. Like, nothing can hurt him. Nothing can literally hurt him. I mean, I think one of my favorite iterations of that particular archetype is All Might from My Hero Academia. I fucking love All Might. All Might's like my favorite character. Yeah, there's a caveat that he's dying and stuff because of the nature of his quirk, but I think that's what he's somebody that he realized that he can't save people just with his pure combat ability and strength. He also needs to save people's hearts as well. That's why he always smiles when he's trying to save people. That's why he's very much like a pro wrestler, because he's, the persona that he's portraying is this indomitable guy, when the reality is he's this person that is literally, his whole body is like wrecked from a lifetime of fighting OP supervillains who wouldn't have a second thought of, wrecking people. And so, so
that's what's so fascinating as well with a lot of these characters, right? When they start hitting those extreme levels of I guess power, and then you realize, cool, there is a price to pay for each and every one of them in terms of how they execute it. And you would have seen that is it fair to say it's formulaic? Maybe it's unfair to say it's formulaic, but there is a clear stepped process in terms of how they get to that point, and how when they are as invincible as they appear, that price can be fairly heavy. You have the likes of, say, whether it's Guy Sensei or Rock Lee, right, and Naruto, and you see them just elevating to new heights, unbelievable heights that seem insurmountable by others. And then you kind of compare it as well to the extremes, and you see like these peculiar, if we can use quirks as well, that allow people to be able to maintain that level of power. Like when you see kind of Naruto progressing through all of those iterations that he goes through in terms of training, and then his ability to manage that stress on his body, and his soul. It's really fascinating, and you have it with so many of those. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of these stories or these series, what is the category that they would all fall under? Where you have a lead male that kind of goes through and continues to elevate his skill level throughout the story.
You mean like a what is it? What the hero's journey?
Oh, well, yeah, and then there's a Japanese name for categorizing them, right?
I think in terms of manga, that all kind of falls under shonen.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Like most shonen battle manga, kind of fall under that. I mean, in terms of like being targeted at young boys, young fellas. But realistically, all dudes, no matter their age, are all young boys, really.
Yeah. You never stop being a young boy.
Oh man, I mean, even now, and I bet there are probably a whole bunch of old dudes. If they were to walk down the road and see like a really sweet looking stick, they'd probably want to pick it up and start swinging around like a sword.
Yeah,
I have no doubt that that's whether they do it or not. Whether they do it or not is completely, is entirely up to them. But I bet you that thought crosses their mind, thinking it's a nice looking stick.
Yeah, look, I'm always entertained by the reality of that, because I have a small website that one of my girls just uses as a little bit of a hobby to get her into like figuring out how to do e-commerce, and it just sells. Do you remember Chatterings?
Right. My sisters have a pair.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and so it always entertains me when I'm walking somewhere and I've got to do a delivery and I've got them, right, and so I'm about to take them in, and then somebody looks at me and gives me a double take, and then they're like, what? And then I'm like, oh, do you want one? And I give it to them, and they're stoked as. And then I find out later on, like there was one case, yeah, they just bust it out. They start trying to do it. I had one experience when I went out to the post office and I was doing the Christmas deliveries, right? And somebody came up, they were paying a bill for something else, and they looked at me and they're like, oh, where'd you get those? And I was like, oh, I sell them online. And then she said, oh, cool. What's your website? And I was like, no, take this. So apparently when I came back in the next time, she had given it to her partner or husband, and she'd filmed him trying to figure it out and remember how to do them. And he'd absolutely cocked it. He'd like failed massively. And the person at the post office was just telling me, she was recounting the story. And she was like, oh, look, what's your website? Because she did it and put it up and all her mates want it. And so it was just funny. But yeah, every man is a boy inside, like 100%.
That's it. This is the thing when this is why Shonen Jump will forever be popular, I guess, or things like Shonen Jump.
Yeah.
I think it's just a real testament that even though sometimes there's a lot of cynical reality, there's a lot of cynicism that we kind of see in the news today. They're always like, there are a bunch of people that are still in touch with a hopeful part of themselves still.
Yeah. So what's the genre when instead of young boys, it's content aimed at young boys, about young boys? What's the content for young girls? What's that called?
Yeah, shoujo manga. Shoujo.
Okay. Would Claymore fall under that as well?
Ed?
Would Claymore fall under that as a category?
Claymore would kind of be, I don't know, because
she's not a girl. She's, I guess you could say she's a young woman.
Yeah. I kind of think. I mean, I think generally those kinds of. I mean, I guess it's just a generic kind of categorization that goes, but I mean, at the end of the day, it really kind of depends on the person reading whether or not they see it as a statement themselves. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think in just a broader sense, anything that's in Shonen Jump is intended for shonen young fellas in general. But I think with shoujo anime, I mean, it can still be in. I don't know. I don't really know too much, but I do love slice of life. You've got like Sailor Moon's a classic.
Would Blood Plus be in that category? Blood Plus be in that category?
Blood Plus. The vampire.
Yeah, the vampire manga. Yep.
Sorry, the vampire anime. I don't know. I think it would. I don't know. I think it would. 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 No, I don't think it would. I think it would probably, it'd probably be more sane and just more kind of older audiences,
Oh,
younger
okay.
audiences. Because I think this is the misconception that even though, there is also quite a lot of manga outside of shonen and shoujo stuff. Like you have some really incredible manga and stories that are targeted specifically for more mature audiences.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I would say Claymore's fantastic. I mean, for example, my sisters absolutely love One Piece.
Yeah.
One Piece, and I think one of the things that they love is just the way that the women are portrayed. The women and the girls are portrayed. Mika, Robin, um, Nami, Vivi, they're all really dynamic
Mm.
characters who have their own stories, their own motivations. There's no real kind of romance kind of
Yeah.
thing attached, which isn't a bad, which isn't to say that romance is a bad thing, but I think sometimes it's easy to kind of get compartmentalized into thinking that certain types are for A, B, and C, when really they're just great stories all across the spectrum.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's why my girls have gelled well with the Naruto Kai series, because once you cut out all the filler, yeah, the women are treated with significant respect in terms of the girl characters or women characters, in terms of their own hero's journey, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really fascinating. I think there are a few series out there that just do it incredibly well.
Mm.
Incredibly
Yeah,
well.
I would say probably one of my favorite series at the moment, which I think does it really well, is they actually have a Netflix anime adaptation. It's Dorohedoro, basically about a dude with a lizard head and his best friend
Oh,
Mikado.
wait,
Who
is it a live action?
No, it's
Oh, yeah,
anime.
I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, it's actually incredible. It is
yeah.
incredible. I would say it's probably one of the best examples where basically two grown adults, we're grown men and grown women who are beautiful in their own right, aren't trying to hook up or
Yep.
just, there's no romantic overtones. They're just people that really love each other because they're best friends. Like it's this crazy, beautiful platonic friendship that exists
Mm.
in this hellish, deviant kind of society that they're in. So I was like, wow, I really flipping love that. I thought it was great.
It's deep magic veins in that one too, aren't there?
Deep magic veins. If you follow
Yeah,
the manga's incredible. Written by a woman, Q Hayashida.
that's cool, man. That's
I
so
know.
cool.
Like, yeah. So I'm just saying that some of these incredible stories that are being penned by a woman are just as important as all the stuff that we see. I think Demon Slayer is written by a woman. I think.
Yeah.
Um, but in saying that, it's not to say it, in saying that, and I need to I need to make it very clear. We're not saying that female writers are better than male writers and vice versa. It's just that they have a different perspective because their lived experience is different.
Yeah.
So everybody's stories, whenever, I feel that whenever anybody writes or creates something, of course they're referencing or connecting their lived experience. But I feel that it's yeah, I do enjoy a lot of the work that you tend to get from women. I mean, there's just a different kind of nuance. Even if you look at something like Samurai Champloo, like literally, I mean, not only is it anachronistic with I think it's Edo period samurai and Japanese hip hop and jazz, but you you basically have this girl who it basically starts off as a road trip with something as vague as I'm trying to find a samurai who smells of sunflowers.
Yeah.
But the deeper thread is that it ties into all of this historical reality of what Japan had with early Christians who were cast out, and a girl basically trying to come to terms with why her father abandoned her and her mother.
Mm.
You know, by her finding closure, and it's kind of like this journey of closure. Sorry guys, spoiler alert. You've got Jin and Mugen on that same kind of journey. You've basically got Jin who was pretty much groomed to become an assassin of the state, and then you've got Jin and Mugen from the Ryukyu Islands, the indigenous, one of the indigenous peoples of Japan who had their own kingdom, and him basically being an outcast, like literally a complete outcast, because he has a different language. He comes from a completely different culture, and so you've got like these three different, I mean, just thinking about that, like, holy heck, and like, it on paper, it shouldn't work. It shouldn't work at all. It's
particularly based on the target demographic, but like the way that the main story of the female lead, that's the main thread, and then everything else just weaves in and out, right? And it just creates this beautiful piece of artwork as a result. I think it's a gift, man, 100%. And it's because of perspectives, lived experiences, and then we get all of that, right? I remember first time I watched Samurai Champloo, and then as soon as he started doing a breakdance fight scene, I was just like, I'm in. Say no more. And it continued. Like, you see a bunch of different properties as well. Some of them come in really hard with not as much level of story and detail. Some of them actually do really well with the detail. And so that's why I think it's just, that's why I'm a fan of anime and manga, is because the story is so well developed.
Yeah, it's a story form. I even think too, I think I read somewhere that the way that in Japan with animators, they're taught how to animate emotionally. So that the animations convey emotion more so than they do
motion.
Like emotion and feeling. And again, we're just going to kind of bring it back to Arcane. What a flipping masterpiece that was. That is.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to beat Arcane.
Like, I was just like, holy cow, they actually pulled it off. But I mean, I think too, that's one of the things that I love about beautiful anime is that, there's an emotion or an energy in the way that they kind of animate. It's not necessarily, what do you call it? Like, the beauty of it isn't so much that it's realistic or technically accurate. It's the fact that there's emotion in the way that they move, or in the gestures, or in the movements. And I think that was one of the things that really kind of captivated me about Samurai Champloo. When there'd be action, there'd be like these beautiful blur, the motion blur, the elongation of limbs, the syncopated beat at how they move. And even
which was emulated in the likes of and repeated in varying degrees with a lot of other fight scenes. So Jujutsu Kaisen did it again with the elongation of limbs and the fighting styles and just the arcs, the motion arcs.
The blur and the intensity. How far into Jujutsu Kaisen are you?
Finished.
Bro, like, I mean, even if you look at what's the fight scene?
Well, just take the very first.
Oh,
yeah. So good.
Like the whole boogie woogie scene. Even in the comedic moments, like when what's his name? The guy who used to be a salaryman who ended up coming back.
Oh, yeah.
And I had just asking him why he came back, and it was like, oh shit. what is this sucks. Like, just his delivery was it's just a good combination of all those things, right?
It's so deadpan as well, which makes it so great.
I know. Like, he's 100% committed to it.
So we 100% rate Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, you guys have to watch that. If you haven't watched it, go to Crunchyroll. I'm not sponsored by Crunchyroll, but I highly recommend it. Yeah.
Jujutsu Kaisen. If you want to see one of the greats to have ever done it ever, I would say watch Samurai Champloo.
Yes.
One of the best Christmas movies of all time. I know a lot of people say Die Hard. I will say no. You need to watch Tokyo Godfathers. Tokyo Godfathers is incredible.
I haven't watched today.
Bro, that's your
homework. Okay. Hey, you've added Hunter x Hunter to your list, right? After One Piece.
After One Piece, yeah, I've pretty much watched all of Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, okay. Even right up to the end. Oh, that's right. We talked about it last time.
Yeah, right up to the end.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like that's where he kind of wrote himself into a corner, because
he can't go anywhere else until he starts going to other worlds.
Yeah, and I mean, like, how the hell can you get scarier than the flipping?
The ants that can change into anything.
I'm just, dude, that was like such a flipping horrific thing. And so now you're telling me that there's something worse than that, but I can't quite imagine anything worse than what you guys.
Yeah.
Because I thought that in itself was a terrifying idea.
Yeah.
The fact
100%.
that the ants, the Chimera ant arc, literally are the equivalent of ants to us, but the equivalent of ants, but they literally are just ants from the dark continent, and that their world tree is basically a sapling. It's not even a proper tree.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, these guys say, "Yeah, I think it'll be a good idea to go there." I'm like, "Crap, why?"
Yeah. It's like you never followed Star Trek, did you?
Right. Of course, I followed Star Trek.
Oh, okay. So you remember there was an episode there where, and I think it was in Voyager, the Voyager series, where the Borg have been decimated and they can't figure out how.
Yep. From that, it was an interdimensional species.
Interdimensional. Yep. And where it wasn't space, it was actually liquid in that dimension that they were flying from. And they were, I think, organic in nature, and they were terrifyingly strong, and they could have obliterated, And so when you think about the ants, I was about to say the ants were much like the Borg in terms of assimilation, only they're even worse. And how terrifying it would have been if Starfleet had ever had to deal with that organic enemy, it just seems like, and of course they were able to figure out something that the Borg couldn't, so that it prevented them coming through. But it's just, you start getting OP characters, and
there's only so much, and I think when I say I felt that he's written himself into a corner, Hunter x Hunter. I'm not saying that he's a bad writer at all. I'm just saying that's incredibly difficult to raise the stakes up any higher than that.
Yeah.
Because it's always like this power scaling problem. But I think it also kind of comes down to how much of the terror do you want to explain? Because I think part of what makes a lot of things terrifying is just the mysterious nature of it, the stuff that you can't comprehend. Yeah.
So it's probably fair to say as well that maybe that writing that was intentional, to finish with an open loop somewhat, but to acknowledge that there's probably not going to be any further work that gets done.
Yeah, I really don't think so. I mean, I think I have the same feeling about Vaderbond, about the life of Miyamoto Musashi. I think where it ended, probably a few chapters after, which I think is probably one of the greatest arcs, one of my favorite arcs, and one of the strongest arcs. And
I'd have to take a look at it.
It's basically Dragonfly. So it's about a period of when Miyamoto Musashi ends up trying to help the village through a famine.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, he can't slice and dice and kill anyone. He literally has to learn how to farm.
Okay.
So people kind of mock it, saying, "Oh, it's the farm arc." But I'm saying, no, this is actually probably one of the most profound things I've ever read. And I kind of feel like stories like Vinland Saga kind of go the same way, because you have the story of Thorfinn, who's like the majority of the prologue, it's basically a life of violence,
Okay.
and then it takes a significant turn where he's coming to terms with what are the consequences of that violence. You know, does he just all of a sudden become a good person? No. How can he? He's murdered hundreds and hundreds of innocent people.
Yeah.
So how does he carry that weight? How does he reconcile that? You know, and so I feel that the greatest stories that, or at least the most impactful stories, explore that, where they actually kind of sit down. Could you imagine if they had a Naruto arc where it was like just Naruto kind of sitting down thinking, I've murdered so many people. Yeah, I'm convinced that I was the good guy, but I'm pretty sure that those guys thought that they were the good guy too.
Yeah.
You know, Sasuke's murdered children. How do you come to terms with that? How do you reconcile that life of violence and the consequences from that?
Do they ever address, you know, the whole Sasuke situation and what happened post his battle with Naruto and Boruto?
Yeah, doesn't he? He basically goes on a. Because I never followed after Naruto ended.
Me too.
But yeah, I think he spends his life trying to, you know, make amends for what he's done. But sometimes you just can't make amends for.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't, because if you try to say, "Oh yeah, I've forgiven," it sounds horrible. I think it's one of the things that I think it's spoiler alerts for anybody who's. Do you want to know? Because you haven't watched Vinland Saga yet, have you?
Haven't watched what?
Vinland Saga.
Yes, I watched the first episode of it, and how many episodes? How many seasons in the anime?
So far, just one. Season 2 starts later on this year, but there are about 26 episodes. 26 episodes. I highly recommend it.
You might need to give me until next week, and then we can talk about it.
No. All good, bro. All good. We will, because I think you'd appreciate it, and it's bro.
Yeah.
French kiss.
I always see it. Like I always see it come up in my Netflix feed, and for whatever reason, I've been looking for something else. I think I've really align quite well with the likes of, you know, Jujutsu Kaisen, anything that's kind of that, hero's journey. It's real. I'm a simple man. But when I find that kind of genre or that kind of story arc, it really works for me quite well. So, and it doesn't have to be because it's a male lead or anything, you know what I mean? Just has to be somebody that's going through a great journey, which is why I'm such a fan of Claymore.
Well, even then, I mean, even if we talk about like just incredible stories, Arcane, perhaps probably one of the best series of the year across any medium. The main characters are two women. One of them's most likely gay.
Yeah.
But just incredible storytelling. Like the two main leads, a young woman, and because they've written so well, I mean, you can't help but think, wow, that is incredible. Like somebody made a really good point. The reason they didn't like Wonder Woman 1984 or the other Ghostbusters movie, it wasn't because there was women in it. It's just because they didn't like the way it was written.
Yeah.
100%. You know, I haven't seen them, so I can't comment. But
I've seen 1984, and I'd agree with that. There was a level of depth that was lacking. I think it's a hard thing. Nobody's saying it's easy to do, right? Nobody's saying that it's easy to have an establishing movie like the First Avenger, and then to be able to, after a certain period of time, come out with Winter Soldier. Nobody's saying that's easy, but what everyone is saying is it's genius, and the time it takes to be able to get to that point in terms of the development of the character arc and the overall story arc, the delay in coming up with that great content, it's worth it. It's why we saw, and we keep on repeating it. It's why we saw the failure that was Justice League when it came out, and so many other properties like Cowboy Bebop. I mean,
That's
it
it.
was just a
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
People don't hate the properties. It's just a
yeah,
story.
yeah, exactly. You can't rush. You can't rush the progression.
No.
You can't rush a relationship.
Yep.
You
Agreed.
can't go on a first date and immediately make somebody fall in love with you, make you want to marry them,
Hmm.
only after 1 or 2 dates.
Yeah.
When you know what I mean? Like, it literally takes time to get to know these characters, and I think, and again, like for me, I would say, a lot of it's the studios, the producers. It's not the actors.
Yeah.
Or any people working in the movies. They're basically just doing what they're told. So
Yeah.
I kind of feel for them when people kind of dogpile on them, if they dogpile on Wonder Woman or Captain Marvel. And to be honest, I quite like Captain Marvel. I don't know why people kind of hate on her, because it's like when people say, "Oh, look, she just kind of flew out of nowhere." Where was she the whole time during Infinity War 2? And I'm thinking, dude, how would you even write her? She's so flippant OP.
Yeah.
You can't have her around. You literally had to have her show up in the last moment.
Well,
I mean, it's like,
look, I don't think anyone was bothered. Yeah, for the ones that are like that, right? It's fine. There's a place for people like that. But overall, like, a lot of the angst has really come out of just the off-camera experience with the actress, right? But one of the things that I think would be look, I think the greatest thing that could happen with that character, 100%, would be for Rogue to take her powers. Like, that's like exit her, because at the moment she's not looking like she's going to be doing anything in the next Marvel movie, Miss Marvel movie, which is why they've changed it from Captain Marvel to Miss Marvel to now the Marvels. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there.
oh yeah, see, because even then that stuff kind of gets me questioning some of the stuff, because so much of it is just people saying that they're like this and they're like that. I mean, it's kind of like what they said with Johnny Depp. They got rid of Johnny Depp, pretty much kind of saying that, oh yeah, Johnny Depp did all of these things, and then he found out that he was the one being abused by his wife at the time, who bit off the tip of his finger. And I'm like, is anybody gonna like apologize to the dude for getting it wrong?
I know.
It's like, yeah. So much of it, I kind of have to like just kind of take with a grain of salt, because I like the way that Brie Larson portrayed Captain Marvel as a semi-awkward, dwarkish person.
Yeah. No, I think it works. Everything would have worked out. It was just, I guess, maybe it was bad timing for Brie when she was doing press releases and interviews. Maybe it was that she's overly outspoken in a way that didn't really support or help to promote. Can you imagine if some of the bits that were being, that were coming from her interviews, some of the things that she was saying, can you imagine that Iron Man would have still been as successful as it was if Tony Stark was complaining about somebody, getting up irate about somebody as well while he's doing his press releases, or kind of the press runs? I think it would have hurt him more than helped him when he was doing that. So
I'll be honest, dude, I do not envy that part of that job. Like,
I mean,
it's hard.
I agree.
Doing that stuff, I'm just like, bro, like, do I have to go to this press release? I kind of just want to chill at home now, guys. I've done all this stuff. Do I have to go?
Do they really need me? I've already answered these questions. Can we move on? Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, that is a good point. It is a good point, and a lot of people put a lot of weight into it because you can't help but want that hype. But, oh my gosh, it's just that the homebody introvert in me, just the whole idea of going on press release tours, interviews, will just
it'd be crazy exhausting, right? I think so.
Exhausting. Just like, yeah, dude, I would, that would be, it's a special kind, it's a special type of person. I have to,
fortunately, we don't have to worry about that, so it's okay.
I can catch up and have these conversations with you in the comfort of my garage. Yeah,
me too. In the room, I think it's awesome.
Exactly. And no one's going to complain about my giant rubber band that I keep yanking from the thing.
Yeah, which doesn't look weird at all, according to our
No, it's not
viewers.
weird. Nor is anyone
You-
going to complain that I have a needle and thread and a spool of thread to like sew things randomly if I need to. It's just
I'm looking for something random to stack myself up, but I have nothing randomly at reach. So I guess you're the leader of the pack in that regard. Hey, so where are things at with us? Are you cool enough having a catch up? What's next week? Because this is the 16th, so that'll be the 23rd. Pretty close, man.
I know.
See how we
yeah.
go, eh? Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'd be keen to catch up for a session with you.
No, I'm keen. I'll probably do some more One Piece watching.
And I'll do some Vinland Saga watching as well. That'll be good.
Watching, just let me know if you cry.
Yeah, I will. I will. I will. And please don't break that rafter above your head.
Oh, no, I will, yeah, it's quite sturdy.
Okay. But no, that's cool, man. Hey, look, I appreciate the session, brother. Is there anything you want to say to people?
Keep safe. Tell your loved ones that you love them. Don't go to bed angry. And yeah, just count your blessings. Count your blessings. That's it.
Amen. Yep. And so this is Josh and Lai from Lasers and Unicorns, and we will see you guys next week. Boom.